Hello folks, I'm back after slamming it up a few days with Glacial Hammer, and I'm here to tell you that it is in fact one of the builds of all time. I know that's a lot to unpack, but I assure you, Refrigerator Hammer absolutely does turn people into popsicles and then eventually kills them. In all honesty, the build is fine. I'm in solo self-found though, and I haven't been fortunate with the 5 links, let alone a 6 link. So I've been poverty mode through early maps and seeing what I can get done. Things did pick up with a bit of early luck though, and it happened in Grave Trough, of all places. The part of me that's like, you know, maybe I'm gonna load up this Grave Trough and it's gonna have really great monster density. But that's not what's happening. That body armor doesn't look like much, but that's some much needed resistance fixing as of what was effectively the second day of the league, kind of the first really. This was after I had just finished doing the campaign. I was on my first tier 2 map, and that really just kind of fixed. Well, okay. It doesn't seem like much, does it? But that's solo stuff on for you. A chess piece with a little bit of life and some decent defenses and a whole bunch of resistances. It's just so nice to find early on, because now I don't have to worry about something like exposure or a curse putting me into the danger zone. So this was a great pickup, but what happened next was honestly a lot better. Yeah, that's a lot of Imperial Maul drops. I wasn't terribly excited about this, believe it or not, because quite frankly, it's a very slow base, which isn't the best. But that is an absolute monster of a weapon, and it has room for % fizz craft. I can't even be a little bit upset about it, as much as I want to be, admittedly, because it's, again, it's slow,
so slow.
And that kind of makes multi-strike extra mandatory for a little while, but I tested it out here, and it looks pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't seem like it's terrible, and when I go around smacking things, it's great. Then that happened.
You don't need to. You don't want to try.
Oh my god! Sorry, I just had a brother's gift drop. No, why am I doing this? Why am I in solo self-found? Brad, do you know what brother's gift does? The div card?
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
I'm not gonna tell you. Go look it up. It'll be funnier that way. Your reaction is being recorded. This is probably the luckiest league start I've ever had, dude.
That's. So why are you playing solo self-found?
I don't know. What am I doing? In my first cemetery on day 2 of the league, I just want to say, if you are someone who started with a really good build and worked really hard and only got, you know, 2 or 3 divines so far, I'm really sorry. Just kidding, here's number 7. Fuck you. Oh, that scared the shit out of me. As things progressed, I started to realize that my defenses were a bit lacking. The first thing I did was pretty obvious, and it was something I kind of held off on just because when you have low currency, you don't think about spending it all at once, because you can get into a bad spot with that. But it didn't take me long to realize I should really just invest my Val Orbs in getting a Val Molten Shell right away. I think I got it on my 4th one here. And yeah, that helped a lot. It gives you that panic button, even though the skill isn't quite as strong as it used to be. And my build doesn't have the most armor. Val Molten Shell is still huge for a dangerous situation. And then I went and I bit the bullet and I got some stun immunity going. I kind of held off on this because I thought it wasn't going to be that big of a deal, and I was wrong. I was very, very, very wrong. It actually is so important, especially when my weapon got slower, because that first attack just comes out a little delayed. It's unfortunate. After all of that, I started investing my time in finding ways to make more currency on a build that didn't really clear all that well. You know, this isn't Lightning Arrow Raider or anything like that. And what I found surprisingly is that my usual nemesis of blighted maps were kind of my saving grace, because this build was durable enough and had enough clear where getting through the early stages of a blighted map wasn't too bad. And the freeze effect actually helped a lot whenever a boss kind of got stray early on. So I was able to handle them very well. This was the first one in cells. I learned partway through this that as time goes on, the footage really starts to deteriorate. The moment I leave the map and re-enter, the frame rate becomes amazing again, as far as the recording is concerned. And then at the end of it, I found my first Exalted Orb, which was very nice. So that's 7 Divines and 1 Exalted Orb in like 2 days of playing on Glacial Hammer. And immediately got another Blighted map through Kirak, which is usually something I avoid like the plague, but it helped a lot. As you can see, picking up some essences, very much so needed. This clip here is me hitting level 80, which actually happened before the Blighted maps. And lastly, here's me now in my glorious poverty year. This early stuff where my equipment is super bad is really the rough part. I think that as little as a 5-link is going to put me in yellow maps pretty much immediately and feeling pretty good about it, especially now that I've invested a few points into survivability that I was missing. The build is very tight though, and this is kind of the highlight of what Glacial Hammer does wrong compared to other skills, in the sense that I feel like I always need more of everything. And you know, that's kind of why the series is what it is. That's why I'm in solo self-found, is to kind of highlight this problem with the skill, that it just doesn't do enough and becomes uncomfortable, even though you can make it work, or at least I'm currently able to make things work. All that said, the anticipation for progress is euphoric, I guess. You know, it's a lot of fun to think about what will make the build keep going, especially considering the constant feeling of not having enough is also keeping me looking forward to getting new stuff. And I don't have any shortage of upgrades to go for, which is a good sign. I think I'm most excited about getting a new big weapon, either something that hits as hard as my current one but is faster, or in a perfect world I kill Katarina and she drops me that perfect Cane of Kulamak, because well, let's skip to the short-term roadmap, because obviously right now I'm progressing the Atlas and I'm investing in Betrayal early. I don't have a ton of clips of that because nothing really happens with Betrayal. It is what it is. I'm also looking at Expedition early just because that gives you a lot of things, and ROG is like fantastic crafting when you're all on your own like that. And I want to get my Uber Lab done, which is a big part of why Cane of Kulamak is kind of on my radar. I can get a really powerful weapon there, and the only downside is that it won't have great base crit, and then Slayer Ascendancy takes care of that. So that's kind of the hope. It's a little bit deterministic, and I don't think it's going to be too hard to get in some fights against Katarina. The issue is I could just completely whiff, but I could also just find a rare mace that gets the job done just as well or even better. So we'll see. Other things I want to do, I want to get a decent amulet so I can throw an anoint on it. I actually have pretty good oils going on already, even though I haven't progressed very far into maps. I've never experienced that before. I think I have 3 crimsons already, in fact, just on low tier white maps from blights. That's crazy to me. And I'd also like to get really nice gloves so I can push for an Eldritch Implicit that'll give me +1 strike. That way my clear should go way up, and once I get that going and I have my 5-link, I get the feeling the build's going to feel a lot smoother even in yellow maps than it is right now in white maps. The biggest concern of the build is fun. In the first video I talked about how a skill fails in this whole kind of challenge project that I'm doing. A failing grade can be earned if a skill is miserable to play in the current game. So what I'm most worried about is burnout. Just playing and slamming my head against the wall and never really being able to progress, because Glacial Hammer just gets to a hump that you cannot surpass without, I guess, you know, impossibly good luck required. And let's be honest, my luck has gone into Divine Orbs in Solo Self-Found, where I don't really need all those Divine Orbs. I can already say with a lot of confidence, though, that Glacial Hammer is a well and truly underpowered skill, at least compared to Bone Shatter, which you kind of have to compare everything to Bone Shatter because Bone Shatter is the only one that's widely played. Hopefully, by the end of this, I can give a really informed opinion on how to fix that. Anyway, until next time, Exiles, assuming I'm still sane by that.